Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning into yet another great interview for our business summit in October 2023. Hope you guys are all enjoying all the networking. So today we are here with Heidi Thompson, the Legacy Lifeguard. Now, this is a topic that a lot of entrepreneurs don't necessarily think about it, but it's something extremely important that we all need to put together. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you a little bit about what she does, and then we'll get right into it. So Heidi.
Thank you, Bill. So I am Heidi Thompson. My business is Lifeguarding Legacies, and I'm an estate planning attorney. I practice in Arizona and Florida, and I actually have a concierge practice where I go to people's homes and sit at their dining room tables and do their planning with them. A lot of my clients are small business owners because when you get out and network, that's mostly what you meet are small business owners, and then they refer friends who are not small business owners, but very often that's where a lot of this business starts. And so I have a lot of experience dealing with people who have their own businesses and have to think about, everyone assumes estate planning, oh, that's death. Yes, but death is easy. Incapacity is hard. And I get to help figure out plans for both of those, as well as just kind of that, the more pleasant thought of, if something were to happen to me, how would I want to leave my mark on the world? And I get to help people with all of that.
Absolutely, and that's amazing, and I like the attitude you're putting behind it as well. I think that's a huge difference that a lot of people don't necessarily see, because I think that a lot of the different things when there are topics like this, it's all about perception. And one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs definitely want to do is to leave behind that legacy. They want to build a company so that they're the next generation or whoever they leave it to can do something with it. So what I'd like to dive into first is really getting an idea of, breaking down the scope of what we're leaving behind and some things that we need to definitely think about when it comes to that.
Sure. Well, it's the people you love and the causes you care about. Those are the people you're usually leaving your things to, or the charities you're leaving your things to. So a lot of the planning revolves around them. If the person that you're leaving things to are your 20-something-year-old kids, you probably aren't doing lump sums.
Yeah.
Because that would be a little bit like lottery winners who are, worse off 2 years after they bought the ticket than they were the day they bought the ticket.
Yeah.
They get themselves in some real deep doo-doo doing that. And we can save them from themselves by doing some creative planning about how we're structuring those distributions. And we can do that with a trust in almost any creative thing you can imagine. It can be done as long as there's someone willing to write the checks. So it's a remarkable vehicle for that. On the other hand, if you're trying to take care of senior parents, it's a very different thing. If you're trying to take care of toddlers, you're more worried about guardianship. So a lot of the planning is really revolved around who it is that you're trying to care about, or what is it you're trying to do. Having said that, if you've got a business, you created that partly for your own lifestyle, but possibly also for that legacy. That's the whole reason to build it up. And what people don't think about, they don't think about what is that next step. Most businesses are reliant on the business owner. I know mine is. Mine is very reliant on me. If I were to disappear, there is no legacy lifeguard. There is no person to take over. And for businesses with more than one employee, that's really kind of, that's short-sighted. For a legal practice, you understand why it has to be person-centered somewhat. But when you have most businesses where you've got multiple employees, the goal should be to be able to take a 3-week vacation and have the business not even call you. The goal should be for it to operate without you. And the 5 years before you plan to kind of do that retirement thing, you should be working with a business succession planner on the regular, who's helping you figure out how to build up the value of that business so that you get the highest buyout rate possible. And if you don't start 5 years before retirement, it's too late.
Absolutely. And you touched on a really good point too, that I think most people get into a business and they're like, oh, this is exciting. I'm going to just get this rolling. And they start getting into all the different things that go on in the beginning of a business and don't really think of stages or the different pieces of how you're going to grow through that, and what you want to do with it. So definitely looking at what you want to do with it later on, and the sooner you do that, like you're saying, the better. If you are looking to sell, there's a lot of different pieces that you want to get in place as soon as you can, because the more planning you have, the easier it becomes, from all different aspects. So when it comes to putting together this estate plan, we touched on a few things, or just plan in general.
Overview.
For what we're doing. The overview, we touched on different reasons why we want to do it. What are some things that we need to consider when it comes to getting ready to do this? So when it comes to organization, finances, different pieces, like what are some pieces we need to look at?
Okay. So there's the medical, there's the financial, and there's the who. All right. So let's start with the medical. So there are 3 things you need to have in place for medical if something were to happen to you that would affect both your business and your personal life. And we're talking about incapacity. Everyone automatically jumps to 2 things. They jump to dementia, and they jump to pull the plug. Yes, those are pieces of it. Those are far end pieces of it. But let's imagine something far more short term. You get in a car accident. You're out of commission for a couple of weeks while you get back on your feet. Who's making the medical decisions for you when you can't? Who's handling your business when you can't? How are you managing those pieces in that moment of incapacity? Sure, in 3 weeks you'll be back on your feet, but do you have a plan for that? That is, I'm not going to say that's the main focus of estate planning, but it covers that too.
Absolutely. And we all like thinking that we're invincible. We all like thinking that we're irreplaceable. But I think that when you own a business and when you're getting into it, you definitely need to understand the fact that you will either be gone or you will be responsible for other people. Like there's a certain level of understanding that an owner needs to have with how it's different from a regular job. At a regular job, someone else is responsible for you, but it's reversed when you're an owner. And we need to make sure that we take that to heart so that we can do all the different things you're talking about. Make sure that we have those backup places for when we're out for a certain stint of time, or like you were saying, when we have extra people that are employees, if we go somewhere, they have no job. So we got to make sure that we have that in place as well. All right. So
in my case, I actually have a contract with another attorney that in any lengthy incapacity or upon my death, she'll take over my practice. I have detailed instructions for how she would do that. And my legal assistant would help her get access to all the files. And we have that plan in place. Now, is that part of estate planning? No, but when you're getting your house in order, it's a great piece to add to that puzzle. For the medical, there are 3 things. There's the living will, which is the end of life directives. Most people think that's pull the plug, and yes, it does include that, but it's really, do you want anything beyond comfort care? Do you want your life to be artificially extended at the end, or do you just want the comfort care and your doctors to make the decisions, or do you want a person to make that decision? So that's the living will. Then you've got the healthcare power of attorney, which is the person you're assigning to make all the decisions. If you can't speak for yourself, anytime you can't speak for yourself, maybe you're just in a car accident, you're in shock. Who's speaking for you then? Maybe you're in surgery. They're not going to wake you up to ask you, what you want done. If there's a problem, they're going to go to your person. So that's the healthcare power of attorney. And then there's the HIPAA waiver, which is who can talk to a doctor on your behalf, not make the decisions, but who, if they show up in the waiting room, should be able to find out from the doctor what's going on and look at records. So those are the 3 pieces on the medical side. And it's just important as a business owner to have those people as assigned as it is for any other person. So, all right, that's the medical.
Absolutely. Okay. So then when it comes to the financial side of things, what are some things we need to consider when it comes to, this piece?
Excellent. So again, while you're alive, if you have a trust, your trustee would manage anything in the trust, and your financial power of attorney, which is a different document altogether, would manage anything outside the trust. And it's funny because you don't think about the many, many things that are not in your trust. For example, your Facebook account. Who's managing that if you're incapacitated? We've all seen people that we've lost who 4 years later get happy birthdays on their wall and you're just cringing, right? It's someone needed to take that down, and your healthcare power of attorney during that time of incapacity should have removed that. So those are pieces of that. Um, there's uh, there's three pieces that deal with the finances. There's the financial power of attorney, the trust, and the will. For people who don't have a trust, the will is exactly what you think you see on TV about it. It's that document that says whose stuff goes to when I die. And on TV they make this big deal about a lawyer opening it up in their office with this big moment of suspense, and a bunch of people being angry, and then this whole family drama that ensues, and it makes for great TV. In most cases, I don't recommend that. In most cases, I recommend that people discuss ahead of time with their family members how things are going to go. To even ask them, hey, what things do you think you might fight over, and how can we settle that now so that we have family harmony after we're gone? We don't want the drama and the fighting.
Yeah.
And just to make them aware of what the plans are, so that when they're grieving, they're not having to worry about figuring that out. They already know how it's going to happen. They already have a reasonable timeline and reasonable expectations. It's such an important part of that. And most attorneys will do family meetings where they're happy to go over that with families, but it's amazing how few families ever take us up on that offer.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point there too with businesses in general, but also something that we should all definitely do more often, and it's the communication. Having those the ability to set expectations and have that communication usually leads away from those sorts of problems, whether it's in business, whether it's for sales or clients or things like that, but also in the aftermath of here's the company, this is my baby, who am I going to basically give it to or put
Right?
responsible of it. It gives you an opportunity to get away from those sticky situations of maybe the kids don't want it. So maybe there's an employee that you can leave it to who will take care of it, who actually does want it. And the kids are like, okay, just give us this piece of money every whatever, and we're fine. So it all could be solved through a communication as opposed to all hell breaking loose because, no one bothered to ask. So, communication is definitely key in all aspects of a business. So it's cool that that was a point that you made. So continue.
It's so critical. And I can tell you, it's kind of weird. I've got a master's in counseling and a law degree. And I think in this business, I use that master's in counseling a whole lot more than I use the law degree. I have to know a few key points of the law to be able to do estate planning. I have to know a whole lot about people to be able to get to what their real fears are, to what their real goals are, to get where the family dynamics are, to get where the drama could be, so that we can try to eliminate it in the plan, and to make sure that their communication within their family fits for all of that. It can be really messy. There's the jokes in the industry, and I tell it a lot because it's so appropriate, is, criminal lawyers, they're dealing with bad people on their best behavior. Family lawyers doing divorce and custody, they're dealing with good people on their worst behavior. And then there's estate planning attorneys who, when people die, are basically family lawyers, but now there's money involved.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that, it's kind of a sad, sick joke, but it's so true. People should be grieving. They should be wrapping their arms around their family members. And so
Mm-hmm.
often instead, you've got kind of a gunner grab it all in the group that wants to run in and start emptying out the house right away. And then you've got other people who sat back, and then they realize that other people have manipulated, and it's just ugly. And
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be, because if you've really done a good job of communicating that plan up front, um, there should be kind of that wait and breathe period if something happens. And and the same thing would be true with a business. If you left no plan behind for your business, the employees are going to probably scramble and do the very same thing. It's human nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And we take solace in structure and planning and the ability to have confidence that they know what's going to happen at different times. So, okay. So, there's a lot to definitely get done, and think about when we put these plans together, and know when we're going to do those exits. So to kind of wrap it all in a bow, what are some final thoughts on things that entrepreneurs should consider when putting these kind of plans together? Something we might not have touched on, or have ready.
All right, so I have a big one. If you have an LLC, you may not have an operating agreement. And in some states like Arizona, you don't have to. Having said that, it's probably not a great idea not to have one. Even in Arizona, if you don't have an LLC operating agreement, you're agreeing to the state statutes, which impose a little bit more liability than you could agree to have if you had your own operating agreement. Now, there are attorneys who specialize in writing excellent operating agreements. They're usually going to advertise themselves as business attorneys. Estate planning attorneys very often will do simple LLC operating agreements. I do them sometimes, but that is not my specialty. An LLC operating agreement should deal with, what are my plans if something were to happen to me? Who are the key employees? How should things be split? Who had investments in the company? What happens if I'm incapacitated for a while? Who's taking over? Who's kind of that next in succession? And then what happens upon death should always be in there, as well as what liability are we taking and in what instances. Like, your operating agreement is the main document of your business. I almost think of it as your law, will, trust, and healthcare power for your business, right? It's a lot.
Yeah.
And people don't have them. Overwhelmingly, small businesses do not have one, at least here in Arizona, from what I see.
No, it's definitely something that a lot of business owners don't have, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they don't know it exists.
Right.
They don't know that it's something that even is part of it, because when a lot of people think of creating a business, they're like, okay, I'll put an LLC together and then I'll do this, and they skip right over anything else that's involved with creating that LLC. So that's a very good point. Operating agreement from a standpoint of end of life, but also from a standpoint of the company itself, especially if you have multiple partners in that company. So
correct, especially then. But even a single member, you can insure yourself from a little bit of liability by having an operating agreement here in Arizona anyway. The statute imposes more than you have to have by operating agreement.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Heidi. I think you've really opened it up a lot for people who don't even think about this, for one, but also might want to think about it but don't know where to start. So as we exit, I would like you to give us information on how we can reach out to you and how we can contact you, so that if anyone has any further questions about what they need to do to get this all done, they know exactly where to go. Perfect.
I would love to. So my website, lifeguardinglegacies.com, that is the best place to go. There's lots of free, easy to digest content there. There's videos. There's also my book download. I wrote my book. It's specific to Arizona, so some of the rules don't apply other places, the numbers and things, but the big principles apply everywhere. So it's still a good idea. All you have to do is put in your email address. You can download a free copy. You can also buy it on Amazon, but who's going to do that when you can download it for free? So, but I definitely recommend you go in there and take a look. It's probably a 90-minute read. If you're not a fast reader, it's got wide margins if you print it out to be able to make notes and have thoughts, so that if you were to meet with your estate attorney, you can ask questions related to how this works for you, your person, and your business. So you can always reach me on my phone number, 602-529-1827. The answering service will collect your email and your phone number and can schedule a 15-minute free consult with me to ask questions over the phone anytime. I'm happy to do that. Even if you're out of state, I'm happy to answer some basic questions. I can't be your lawyer, but it couldn't hurt to get some questions clarified. I'll always offer that out to people. You can also email me, info@lifeguardinglegacies.com. That does come directly to me. So happy to reach out and answer your questions as business leaders. And if you are living in Maricopa County, Arizona, or anywhere in Florida, I'd also be happy to help you with your estate plan. I love to do the planning on all of this and can walk you through and get you started. And we make this a very painless process.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Heidi. And again, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you all are enjoying the networking that you're doing in our summit, and I will see you there in our networking group. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.